everyone, cheers to Friday. So today's video is going to hopefully be a fun one. I was just thinking through, the videos for the next few weeks, and I thought, this is going to be a fun one because I get asked this question all the time, whether it's in comments here on YouTube, whether it's over on Instagram, or if we see people in real life at conferences and events. But they always want to know, what is our family dynamic? What are some of the things we do? What are some of the things we don't do? And so I have sat down and I have compiled a list on my phone of 10 things our family doesn't do. Now, this video is not to pass judgment on anyone. If you guys do these, I don't think you're right or wrong. These are just some things that we have really created in our family dynamic, and these are some things we simply don't do and why we don't do them. And so I think it's really cool as we're starting to approach the holidays. I feel like every year I try to see what other people are doing as far as traditions, or when I talk to my friends or even strangers, I'm always just curious, what is their family dynamic? What are the things they stand for? What are the things they prioritize? What are the things they say no to? It's just really fun to kind of spark some unique conversations, hear someone else's opinion on things. I don't know. I just think it's really cool. So I would love to know in the comments, what is something that your family just does not do, and why did you come to that decision? So I'm going to share with you guys 10 things our family doesn't do and why. Make sure you drop yours down below, so grab your cup of coffee or your tea. I am going to be going off of my phone here because I wrote them down and there's no way I can remember them all. And granted, there are probably more things we don't do. These are just the things that usually get brought up in conversations, all right? So the first one our family doesn't do is we don't have cable or even a TV in the living room. This has been the culture since before we had children. It was something Nathan and I knew very early on in marriage. We did not want our life to be prioritized around television. So we have never had cable. We've also been pretty frugal, and that's always seemed like one of those things we could do without. Now I know everyone's gonna ask, well, do you have subscriptions, right? Because we live in an age where that's very common. We do. We actually are YouTube consumers. I know a lot of YouTubers don't consume YouTube content. We're actually YouTubers that do consume YouTube content. I love getting to know someone personally way more than reality TV. I also think too, just not growing up with having cable, that wasn't something we were allowed to have growing up, so it didn't really seem foreign or strange to me, I will say. So one, we don't have cable. We've never had cable. We do watch YouTube. We do have a Netflix subscription. However, very limited what is allowed to be watched on there. And going along with the fact that we do not have cable, we have never had a TV in the living room or your common area. We've only ever had one TV. The TV lives in our bedroom. And I know there's a lot of stuff about that too, but what we do is the TV only comes on at night. All of the kids will pile in our bed after dinner. We will watch one show or one documentary together to wind down before bedtime, and then it is time for our bedtime routine. And so that is the only time the TV gets turned on. It is kind of a family thing that we do together. And the reason we didn't want a TV in the common room is I just didn't want my kids to consume the screen time all the time. And I feel like when you're in the living room, that is a chance for you to live together in connection, to have conversations. So when we're all in the living room together, we're either reading or we're having conversation, and that's just kind of what the focal point is versus always having the TV on. We knew pretty early on that was not something that we wanted to do. So that's the first thing that our family doesn't do. Number two, we do not go on vacation if that means it is going to put our family in debt. And what that looked like for our family for many years is we would never go on vacation. If we did not have the cash to pay for it, or we were gonna have to go in debt and then pay it off later, we didn't do that. And while I am all for creating experiences with our kids, I want them to have those memories. I will not go in debt to give them something that they don't need. Vacation is a luxury. And You can create intentional memories by setting up a campfire outside, by, tent camping in your backyard. Like through the years, there are so many different ways that we have prioritized creating those intentional moments with our kids without indebting ourselves for it, because we're going to live a much fuller, richer life in our opinion. Now we are at a state financially where we can go on vacation, and we still don't ever go on week-long vacations. They look like weekend camping trips, things that just don't break the bank. We've also been really mindful of like our kids' ages. I think one time we went to the beach for a week long when the kids were younger, and they hated it. And Nathan and I were so sick because we'd saved up a couple $1,000s. We took this family vacation, and the kids wanted to stay at the condo pool because they hated the sand, the waves were too rough, and there were just all these other things. And so when we think about, is that really what we want to prioritize at a time when our kids can't really enjoy it? And for us, that answer has always been no. But now we are getting into a season where we are planning more trips. Our kids are a little bit more older to enjoy them. But I don't know, I think we just learned from our mistakes, and we've been very diligent to live a debt-free lifestyle, that going on vacation just to say we went on a yearly vacation has never been something our family has done. All right, so number 3, this one gets brought up often, especially as we're entering into the holiday season. We do not spend Christmas morning outside of our home as a family. And if we do Christmas with family, we don't ever leave our house Christmas Day. And if other family wants to come visit, it is after our family has had Christmas together. Now, I can already just feel the comments rolling in, right? And so I really do just want to explain to you our approach on this. I feel like everyone has those childhood memories, as a kid, and what holidays looked like for them. And for me, it was a lot of travel. My cousins traveled a lot, and it just always seemed like this really hectic thing. And I just knew I didn't really want those to be the memories my kids created. I wanted to have those traditions that we did every single year without fail, and that was what was embedded in their brains. And so for us, that looks like Christmas Eve. The girls get in the kitchen with me. We make cinnamon rolls. We get up, we bake them Christmas morning. Nathan makes a beautiful dinner. We go to candlelight service. We come home, and that is Christmas Eve. We invite grandparents. We invite anyone who wants to come over can go to Christmas Eve service with us at church. They can come over and enjoy a delicious meal. But then Christmas morning is reserved for our family. We let the kids wake up. We bake our cinnamon rolls. We play Christmas music, we read the Christmas story, we open stockings, and it is just a very intentional, intimate time without us rushing through Christmas, getting dressed out the door to move on to the next event, the next household. And I know some people thrive and love that. That is just one of those things that Nathan and I agreed on pretty early on. We were not going to spend all of our Christmases traveling. It was going to be a very intentional, intimate thing within our family, and we would reserve all of that other stuff either before or after Christmas. I know this may not work for a lot of family dynamics. We do not come from a large family. Neither Nathan nor myself. My sister also has very similar approaches where Christmas is for her family. So it's like, as long as the grandparents get to see the kids, which they can obviously do that. We usually plan something the week of Christmas, Christmas Eve. It's not like it's that big of a deal. We don't have any cousins that live nearby for the kids, so it's not like they're missing out on anything anyways. We just choose to be really intentional with that. So that's another thing that our family doesn't do. We don't spend Christmas outside of our home on Christmas morning, and we actually kind of love it because it's just a very chill, relaxing day. The few gifts the girls get, they get to spend all afternoon playing with them. We usually are baking all day, feasting all day, and we love it. Another thing our family does not do, which I feel like will probably be the case for many of my viewers and audiences, and that is that we do not eat out regularly. We really prioritize cooking from scratch and eating intentionally. Again, this came from necessity, right? Like Nathan and I were just not financially in a place for many years to splurge and eat out. Also just, you know, the health benefits of cooking from scratch. We grow most of the food that we consume, whether it's our animals, whether it's produce. So it makes a lot of sense for our families, but that is something that I do feel like we have to be intentional with, especially if we have busier seasons of life. And maybe that looks like putting something on the crock pot, maybe, you know, a soup in the Dutch oven all day. We definitely have to meal plan and prep to be able to not eat out. And then another thing, if we do choose to eat out, like maybe it's a special occasion, maybe we want to splurge, take the girls out, we only eat from local restaurants. We will not eat from chains. And this is also true if we choose to eat out in our town or if we are traveling. This was actually something that Nathan was very adamant about very early on in our marriage. I don't even really remember how this conversation came about, but it was just like, we're not going to eat at chain restaurants because, I don't know, I just feel like you get to really experience the local cuisine and the local soul of a place by eating local food. You get to connect with locals. We get to support our small business. I don't know, it's just always been really important to us. So anytime we travel, we're always looking at mom and pop restaurants. We're asking locals, but I cannot tell you the last time I ate at a chain restaurant. I was honestly probably in college. It's been that long ago. We definitely are not a family that consumes fast food. It's something that we've just prioritized being intentional with, really tapping into slow living, and this is a way that we do that. We just don't eat out regularly. Okay, number 5. This is been something that I would say we've pretty much always somewhat been this way, but in the last few years we've been really intentional with it, and we do not overschedule our kids. We will not allow our kids to be busy for the sake of being busy. That looks like sports, that looks like any sort of events, engagements, time with friends, etc. While we think all of those things in and of themselves are important, sports are really important to Nathan. He thinks there's a lot of value that comes from our kids doing sports. You know, I think my kids spending time with friends is really important. I think us doing things together is really important. But I feel like if you were to just pick 5 friends and ask them, how are you? They would usually say something along the lines of, oh, I'm good, we're just so busy. Life's just so busy. We're just so crazy. Our schedules are insane, right? How many of us have talked to a friend and that is always what they say? And I've always just asked myself, well, why? Because we as the parents, we create the busyness in our lives. And we can choose what we say yes to, and we can choose what we say no to. And I feel like it is so easy to get caught up in saying yes and saying yes and saying yes because we don't want to upset our kids. We want to give them something to do. We want them to be, you know, socially exposed and all these other things, right? Not saying any of that is bad, but for our family, we have really prioritized the value in saying no. We have really prioritized in creating the culture in our home and setting the tone to what's normal. And overscheduling our kids is something that we said, no, this is not going to be a normal part of our lives, but I'm not going to overschedule my kids. And I think it's important for them to realize that our family comes first. If we do not prioritize eating together and spending quality time together, all of that comes first above anything else. And if the other things we are doing are taking us away from those core fundamental things we believe and we value, then we're just not going to do it. Number 6. We don't buy new things without a purpose. Gosh, I feel like this is just like the homesteading way of life, right? It takes a lot out of us to buy something new because of the cost that comes with something new. And so I know, again, and I feel like this is a lot of my audience, but we do live in a society where people want to drive the nicest car, live in the biggest house, they want to have the newest, shiniest things. And I think it takes a lot of discipline to not get caught up in that and realizing that that doesn't equal value, especially if it's indebting your family, because what I really want is the freedom of not being in debt. I want the freedom of spending quality time with my family, which we've been able to do. And I really think that that is primarily because we've not spent our money on new flashy things. We live in a very humble house. We drive very humble vehicles. We don't have the nicest of the nice things. We thrift a lot of our things. We buy a lot of our clothes used on consignment. And I don't know, I feel good about it. I'm actually like becoming more frugal the older I get, and so there's something about just getting a bargain that I love. I'm even trying to think about some of the things that we have bought new, and I'm having a hard time even figuring out what those are. We've never owned a new vehicle, like maybe shoes or something like that. We've bought stuff like that new, but as far as big purchases, we've never done that. And it's really just allowed our family a lot of financial freedom by not buying something new. And then if we do, we kind of run it through that Dave Ramsey approach, right? We'll really think about it. Do we have the cash to pay for it? What does this look like for our family? Why do we think we need to buy this thing new? There's just like this whole like checklist kind of we run through before we just say yes. And then if we decide we really do want it, we've talked about it, then we'll get it. But if not, most of the times we'll talk ourselves out of it because it's not a rash, instant decision that we make, which is actually great. It's a great practice to do if you haven't done it. It's worked really well for our family. Number 7, we do not have electronics at the dinner table. I feel like I could just leave that there, right? But I will go into a little bit more explanations. Not only do we not have electronics at the dinner table, Nathan and I are the only ones that have electronics, but we don't answer phone calls during dinner. Like, dinner is reserved for our family. If someone's calling, you can call them back. It can wait. That is, again, just something we've really prioritized. I feel like so many people have gotten away from quality time and family. This has always been our approach. We have never had electronics at the dinner table. I just think it's a time where we can spark conversations within our own family, catch up on the day, especially before Nathan was working at home. I wanted to know, like, what was going on with your day. He wanted to know what was going on with my day. We wanted to check in with the kids, etc. And so that's something that our family just we don't do. There's no compromise. There's no negotiation on that. We do not have electronics at the dinner table, period. And it has been amazing because then you open up the room to have conversations, right? To talk with each other, especially if you are a family that, you know, y'all are all working different jobs outside of the home. That's a chance to really just come in, sit down as a family, and maybe even connect for the first time all day. And so I cannot just rave about this enough. We absolutely love prioritizing no electronics at the dinner table because our family knows that's just reserved for our family. And speaking on that, we also do not eat dinner outside of the dinner table. We're not eating on the couch. We don't eat in our bedrooms. Like, that is a moment that we all come together at the end of the day. We light the candles. We sit down. We have a meal together. And in fact, I was reading a study the other day, and it was less than 30% of families eat dinner together at the dinner table. 30%. This blew my mind, and I think it really just kind of solidified the fact that we live in a very convenient, fast culture to where these things aren't prioritized. And I do feel like it's our responsibilities as parents and the keeper of our homes to really make that a priority and teach our kids. Because if we don't, society's teaching our kids, grab fast food, eat in the car, eat in your room, be on your phone. They're getting shoved this left and right. And so we've really got to prioritize that, hey, this matters. We're going to take time to do this despite what everything or everyone else is doing. And so the study not only showed that less than 30% of families ate dinner at the dinner table together, but those that did ended up having better relationships with their families. The kids felt more stability with their parents because they always had that stability, that same routine every single day. And so I thought that was really cool that the study showed it impacted kids well after their time at home had gone. And so let that just be a little nod if you're one of those that maybe you haven't ever eaten dinner together at the dinner table. I highly recommend prioritizing that. And I think it also helps too that we don't have a TV in the living room. There's no other distractions. Like our kitchen, dining, living room is literally just a time for us to connect and be together. So when we're eating dinner, we don't have the distraction of the TV on in the living room. We're literally just all together, and it is our gathering place. So number 9, we do not prioritize material gifts over experiences. And there's a few reasons we do this. One, I feel like you can just accumulate so much stuff, unnecessary stuff that does not add value. And again, there's a common theme here, right? And that is that we are breaking the cycles that society tells us we have to do. We have to buy gifts and abundant of gifts for made-up holidays, and I do not understand that. I want to create core memories with my children, and I believe that you do that not by the gifts that you can give your kids, but by the memories and the moments you can create with them. And we have found the way to do that is by creating experiences, saying yes to the things we can say yes to. And they value that so much more. And this was something I will say, as our kids have gotten older, they have craved those experiences over gifts all day long. And we would just prefer spending our money creating memories and experiences with the girls. And as they've gotten older, they actually really appreciate that. They appreciate that weekend trip. That's something that we are going to try really hard in 2025 to even prioritize more, is where we would buy gifts, offer the kids an experience. What is something we could do together as a family? Maybe what's a one-on-one thing we could do? And so this is something that's been really, really fun. It's been really fun to see how our kids crave this over those material gifts as well, which I think it just shows that quality time is something my kids specifically really crave, and a way we can give that to them is by saying no to gifts that don't really have value and saying yes to experiences that they will keep with them long after we're gone. And the last thing that our family doesn't do is we do not rush through our evenings. I don't know if you've noticed here, but there's a common theme of intentionality. Now, I can look back over the years of us being married and us having kids, and I can say this has not always been the case. We, especially when we worked outside of the home, this was a lot harder because we would come home, we were scrambling to cook dinner, the kids needed baths, we were checking off everything on our to-do list, maybe the kids were in sports, maybe we had overscheduled the kids at that portion of our lives, and the evenings just seemed so hectic. And I would get in bed and I would think, whoa, I have made absolutely no connection with my family all day just to wake up and start that cycle over and over again. And the truth is, the things on this list, it takes a lot of intentionality to be able to do these things. But I think that it is so worth it. In fact, I know that my family is worth me being intentional for. And so what that looks like is we're not hurrying up and eating dinner and getting baths and rushing through the night and just checking off all these things to wake up and do it all again. And we're able to have slower evenings because we do not overschedule our kids. We're not constantly bouncing from point A to point B to point A to point B to where we're just so exhausted that we're not checking in, that we're not, being able to calm down at night and watch a show together in bed. And so we've just created these rhythms and routines for our family where we are really able to be intentional. And I think because we've created this, nighttime is something that our family looks forward to because we have that routine of gathering at the dinner table, eating dinner together. We know we're gonna clean up from dinner, we're gonna set ourselves up for the next day, maybe clean the kitchen, pick up the living room, and then we're all just gonna be able to grab our cup of tea, climb in bed together, choose a documentary, read a book, and just hang out. And our kids love that. Every Sunday we have like a snack dinner, movie night, and it's just something that, it'll be Thursday and they're already asking, well, what's our snack dinner look like this Sunday? What movie are we gonna watch this Sunday? Because they know it's just a time where we're gonna slow down, and they crave that. Our kids crave the attention that we give them. And even if mom and dad are a little bit busy throughout the day, they know when dinner's on the table, we start to shift into a slower mode, and they love that. They thrive off of that. And it's just a really great opportunity, despite how crazy the daytime might be. Our evenings are reserved for just a slower pace and for time with our family. And I cannot, again, encourage that enough. So those are 10 things that our family doesn't do. Again, not all the things. And again, not passing judgment. If you do any of these things, that's totally fine. I think you have to figure out what works for you and your family. And so I just thought it would be fun to share with you guys some of the things that our family doesn't do. And so I would love to hear from you down in the comments. What are some things your family doesn't do? I think it'd be fun to just kind of spark some conversations. I'm always looking for new ideas. I'm always looking for new things we can incorporate, things I've probably never even thought of, but I thought it'd be fun to share this little list with you guys today. So thanks for hanging out with me. I'll talk to you soon.